Introduce my next guest. We're having technical problems with our video. This young man goes back with me well over 4 decades. He has been entertainer. He's a former member of the legendary Orioles singing group. Um, he's been out in the community. He's a nephew of the legendary Dorothy Height. And this guy, during the Barack Obama administration, he came out with a great video on Barack Obama. And he has one there that we'll be seeing the next couple of days on
Oh, yeah.
Trump leaving the White House.
Yes,
It's going to be hysterical. But the one that we was trying to show you just now, Black Lives Matter, really a masterful job, Royal. That is a entertaining video, one that you can even dance by. But but without further ado, I would like to welcome my dear friend, the one and only Mr. Royal Hype. How you doing, Royal?
I'm doing excellent. This is a season unlike any other Christmas season that I've ever known. I'm sure all of us could attest to that, but I'm enjoying the holidays. I'm just so thankful for what God has blessed us with. But so many of us have suffered so many tragedies during this 2020. It's been a very testy year for most all of us. We've seen things that we could, this time a year ago, we wouldn't have even imagined when we think about how this world has kind of gone topsy-turvy. And with this administration that we'll be glad is exiting in the next 20 days or so. But I just greet everybody, and I hope everybody's doing the best they can, and moving on, because we can't sit still. And I have to say, I do admire your work. You know, I always say that because I mean it. But just seeing men, black men, who still forge ahead, like my brother Robert Brown. I've had the pleasure of knowing him for a long time. Great guy. And just seeing all of us doing what we can do to forge ahead, and even coming together to work together to help each other is a blessing. So I'm just thankful for that. Other
Thank
than
you.
that, I'm just an ordinary guy. I love to sing. I've been doing it for a long time. This is what I do.
Right. Well, let me introduce my team who have been really holding me up for the past 3 months, and of course we have my dear friend Maggie Linton. Maggie and I go back a long time too. She's a pioneer when it comes to female black sports media people. She come out of Kansas and came here to Washington D.C. I guess almost over 30 years ago, and became the first black female to do sports at WTTG Channel 5. Maggie has also had her own talk show on Sirius XM, which was a great show. Maggie has been, like I said, a part of Kids in Trouble and Inside Sports for many decades. So we are glad to have her with us today. Sometimes she disappears on, but she always shows up. She's always on time. She's always on time. My other panel guest is dear friend Jackie Jones. Jackie is a former writer for the Washington Post, the New York Post, the Baltimore Sun. She is now in the School of Communication as a dean at Morgan State University. She has been on the board of Kids in Trouble and a part of these Christmas toy parties for as long as I can remember. Jackie is also, she has done such a fantastic job with not only her son, but been a mentor to so many others here in the Washington D.C. area. So I want to welcome Jackie to the show, and of course we got CJ, our youth advocate, no holds barred youth advocate, and CJ has been with us since we started the show. And we got, of course, the facilitator, the CEO of BlackMenInAmerica.com, one of the most popular websites out of 500 websites. They're ranked in the top 10, and he has done such a fantastic job in a one-man show. And we're talking about one and only Mr. Gary Johnson. I want to get this show kicked off because we got Lawrence Lucas with us too. Lawrence will bring us up to date because we're going to talk about what's your New Year's resolution. We're going to find out what Lawrence is talking about as far as the Black farmers are concerned, and where are we with this nomination with this guy Tom Vilsack, whatever his name is. So that's hot on the table. So we're going to be taking a look at that. I want to go back to Robert Brown. Robert, bring us up to date. Exactly where are you now, and what are you expecting in 2021?
Well, right now, I'm mourning the passing of my friend Skip Mahoney, March 20th, 2020. We had recently done a benefit for him before his passing. And we're really in the process of trying to put together a memorial for him. I've gotten some confirmations from several acts from around the country that wants to be a part of it. But because of the pandemic, it's a little hard for us to move at this time. And it's real difficult to say what the New Year resolution is going to be. If it wasn't for the pandemic, I would be out remembering Skip Mahoney of Skip Mahoney and the Casuals, and be about trying to put together his memorial.
Okay. Roy, what about you? What it looks like for you for 2021?
Well, my resolution is completing unfinished works that I've done. I mean, I lost my brother back about a week after Skip passed. On April the 1st, I lost my brother, the guy who was best man at my first wedding, and another great friend, all within a matter of 4 days. So it's been hard, but my resolution is just going back, completing unfinished works I have. I wanted to finish. I'm working on my book. We're doing a documentary. I have incomplete music that I've had, and just trying to tie all the loose ends, because just seeing around me so many people who have gone on, it kind of reminds me that none of us are here forever. So the things that I feel like God has assigned me to do, I want to be as complete as I can. So right now, I'm just being relentless to finish all of the things I've started, and any new ideas I have, try to bring them to fruition as quick as I can.
Okay. Lawrence Lucas. Lawrence, thanks for joining us today. I'm glad you decided to take part today, because you've been working hard with the Black farmer, and you guys have been going through a lot. I've been reading the newspaper clippings on Vilsack, and he should be dead man walking when it comes to confirmation, but you can't be sure of that. Not with these politicians, you cannot be sure of that. So Lawrence, give us a little update on where you are with the Black farmers and the nomination of Vilsack.
Okay, thanks for having me on again and joining the family of BlackMenInAmerica.com. I think that the only thing I can say is I welcome being in the midst of all the gentlemen and the lady, Jackie, being on and participating in this event. And there goes Maggie. And the only thing I can say is we have gone from, and I think what is important is that what BlackMenInAmerica.com is doing, I think, is what Black people should be doing for each other. Having the level of guests, Robert Brown and Royal Height, is just one example of what I've seen you all do and can do. And I can only say thank you for opening up the airways to our community to hear what you all call speak the truth, and hear from people who we consider as truth tellers. That being said, we are now in the throes of the Biden administration nominating Tom Vilsack to Secretary of Agriculture, who during the Obama administration, which may shock a few of you all, during the Obama administration was probably one of the most racist and retaliatory administrations in the history of USDA, not like that of Clinton and his administration. We are now challenging the Biden administration to come up with a plan to help Black farmers. And what we're talking about Black farmers who've lost their land, have lost their livelihood, who've lost their way of life, and who've lost wealth. And that is something that has not been able to pass down in history. And they call the USDA the land plantation for a reason, because that's what it is. I'm sorry to say that this gentleman, Tom Vilsack from Iowa, he has a tainted history as to how he deal with Black folks. The most pointed would be his treatment and firing of Shirley Sherrod. People have a tendency to run to the cameras. They had a meeting and they eliminated a lot of the urban farmers, the Justice for Black Farmers, the Coalition of Minority Employees, and other organizations from a meeting they had last week. And they didn't want to have people like us in the meeting because they knew we would tell the truth. It's too bad you still have a culture in our own community that will rush to the cameras when they think they're going to get the presence of a president or vice president or someone who says they consider themselves important. I think we need to be not so quick to get a photo op, but we should be talking about substance. Now, what I'm saying to you is that we are in a running battle with this administration. We're going to continue to fight this administration, the Biden administration, on its nomination of Tom Vilsack. We are going to continue to fight and make sure that Black farmers are not losing their land. We're going to fight to make sure we have a Secretary of Agriculture that's going to benefit all people, especially Black people in this country. Black folks made sure that Biden is in office, and they turn around by rewarding us with a racist Secretary of Agriculture nominee. So they figure we're going to run and hide. That's not the case. We've got urban farmers and rural farmers around this country, which is a fairly new organization since we spoke with Elizabeth Warren, and they came up with the Justice for Black Farm Act of 2000, and that was put on the floor of the Senate last month, and we're going to push for that. And Booker is the person putting that on the floor with the support of Senator Gillibrand out of New York, and with the support of Elizabeth Warren. So we're going to stay in the fight. And the gentleman that you have on, I know that you all have been around a long time, and the contributions that you all have made to our community, to the music world. I'm pleased that I was able to come on and hear a bit of it. I will be listening to the tape, but thank you for your hard work. Thank you for the contributions that you've given to our community. And we all are at a point where we're doing the best we can with the little time we have left. And we are committed, as you all are, to making a difference with little time we have left. We should be the truth tellers, and we should continue to contribute to our communities, just as you all have, just as Gary Johnson is doing, CJ is doing, Jackie Jones and the work she's doing, Ms. Linton, and of course my good friend and teammate and high school mate Harold Bell. I want to commend you all on what you're doing. Continue to do it in any way that we can help at any point in time. We want to be there to help you at all times. So congratulations. And my New Year's resolution is to be better at what I do.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to remind everybody too, just yesterday or day before yesterday, we lost a good friend. I mean, a dear friend of Kids in Trouble and Inside Sports. And I'm talking about the wonderful Mr. K.C. Jones of the Boston Celtics. Wow. K.C. died over the weekend, and man, if I know Royal and Robert and Jackie and Maggie were there when Casey was here, and he was always at Al Endeavors, you know, whether it was Kids in Trouble, whether it was being on the sports talk show. I mean, he was such a kind gentleman. Sometimes I wouldn't even call Casey, and I look out and there he was. That's the kind of guy that he was, you know. And we were really going to miss him. And he went through some difficult times right here in Washington, but he stood up to be a man. So I want all of us, you know, to remember and keep his family in prayer. From now, I'm gonna move on to Jackie. Jackie, welcome to today's show. Tell us what you're thinking about what's coming up in 2021.
Well, there's always a lot, you know, before we get to 2021, we got to get through these last few days with Trump. And, you know, every day I read something different about where his head is at, what he's trying to do, what his supporters are trying to encourage him to do. And so you just can't take your eye off of him. I can't get to January 20th until I can see that we get there and he has not done anything to take us off course. So I think that we've got to be vigilant about that. But in terms of a New Year's resolution, I think the thing that for me is important is to not procrastinate. If COVID has taught us nothing else, you got to do something when it strikes you. You know, if there's a story to be reported or written or given to somebody, you got to pass it on. You got to make sure that it happens. You know, not procrastinating and trying to help move my students along and get them placed where they need to be, and to just reach out to people. You know, you always have that thing, well, you know, I ought to call so-and-so. We haven't talked, but I'm busy. I'll call them tomorrow. And tomorrow's not promised. And so I want to make sure that I'm reaching out to friends and family and being more diligent about that than I've been in the past year.
Okay, Maggie, pick it up from there, baby. Maggie Linton.
Unmute, Maggie.
Unmute.
The one thing, you know, I've talked to a number of friends over the last few days, you know, because it's the holidays and stuff. And one of the things I kept saying over and over again is I'm blessed. You know, I have a roof over my head. I've got food in my stomach, more in the refrigerator, money in the bank, good friends I can be close to and touch, you know, without worrying about whether they or I am going to spread them COVID. But yet I'm optimistic about the new year. You know, Trump has basically tried to destroy our country, but still we rise. And that's, you know, as Jackie just said, being kind, making concern for our next door neighbors or our friends or whoever that may be. That to me is one of the most important things that no matter what government is in there, that we can do something about. And at the same time, continuing to try and do our best. Mesa Leak, who's out of Baltimore, known as Mesa, for years, one of my favorite songs of her is, "Can we change the world? Can we make it right?" And yes, we can. The power is in our hands. And that's my theme that I listen to all the time. And one of the last choruses, "Can we change the world?" And then it says, "When we change the world." And each one of us has that opportunity to do that. And so, as usual, I'm optimistic. I think the two guys are going to ride in from Georgia. And you know, is everything going to be right in the Biden administration? No, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't continue to tell them what we want and expect it to be delivered. And not everything's going to be delivered too, and we must understand that. But at least going in and getting, you know, the fool of the world out of us and helping stamp out all the bad that he has done. That's who we are. So that's it. Oh, my family just arrived. So that's my thoughts for now through the end of the year and into 2021 for January 20th, 12:01.
Okay, all right, Chris. Waiting to hear from you, my brother.
I mean, for me, it's just continuing the fight. I mean, as you said, there's a lot of people that aren't as blessed and that still are struggling with healthcare and things that need relief, and a lot of things that you know, Joe Biden's not. I mean, it's not help is not really on the way. So we have to organize and keep fighting. It's still a lot of work to be done. It's still, like I said, people struggling, and we still have to organize. We still have to fight the fight. We can't just pretend that everything, January 20th is going to go back to normal and be fine, because that's not the case. We, as you said, with the Vilsack nomination, with the way the Biden administration is positioning itself, they have got representation from Raytheon, Goldman Sachs, Wall Street, Monsanto, the GOP, Republicans, but there's not one progressive or Bernie Sanders supporter on his, administration. He's signaling exactly how he's going to govern. He already said he's not going to forgive student loan debt. He's not going to, he's already telling us what he's not going to do.
Wow.
So we have to continue to apply pressure and make it have real political consequences for the Democrats when they ignore the will of the people.
Okay, Gary. Wow, that was great.
Well, I'm going to follow on the Jackie Maggie train about being kind and looking out for one another. COVID has slowed the world down, and I'm blessed, and I need to make sure that I share what I can with others and do what I can to just, in small doses, make the world a better place. And it doesn't take a lot. Sometimes it just means picking up the phone or checking on someone and just asking them if they're okay. Or if you see something and you know something's not right with somebody, just help them out. Just do what I can. So I can't take it with me, so I may as well share it. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay. Well, one of the sticking points with me, and continues to happen over and over again, the cops are still shooting and we're still ducking. In Cleveland, just last week, 2 unarmed Black brothers, no guns. One guy was in his garage, standing in his garage. Cops come up, he comes out with his cell phone. They shoot him dead. Another brother is still saying that they mistaken a Subway sandwich for a gun. And both of these cops had 17, one had 17 years, one had 19 years. So I'm saying, man, when is enough going to be enough? Because something is embedded within police departments around the country. And we got people who are really not standing up and call themselves standing up. Now, I got a pet peeve, Muhammad Ali was the world to me. One of the most honorable men. He was flawed, just like everybody else. But when it came to being about his people, he had no cut card. If he said something about a white man or Jewish, someone Jewish, he didn't take it back. He stood his ground. And we don't have people like that today. They got a Muhammad Ali award that they're giving Sports Illustrated. They're giving out a mythical Muhammad Ali. They're using him as a benchmark. But some of the people that they are selecting for the award, they're not a hair of Muhammad Ali's butt. So why do we allow them to keep giving us telling us who our heroes should be? And I'm so glad to see Junior Bridgman, former NBA player. Here's a brother that got his act together and went out to be an outstanding entrepreneur, businessman. He owned 100 Wendy's and chili restaurants. You understand? Then, of course, he's now with Coca-Cola. But you know what? Junior Bridgman understands that until Lions hire their own public relations people, that the glory is always going to go to the hunter. And that's what's happening. We don't have any major media where we can turn to and say, we're going to get the truth. Junior Bridgman just recently tried to buy Sports Illustrated. And what happened, he had to back off because they went and recruited a group out of New York that had money like Bill Gates. So he had no chance of buying Sports Illustrated. And you know what that reminded me of? Bill Cosby when he tried to buy NBC. We said, no way. No way. So now Junior Bridgman, guess what he does? He goes and buys Ebony magazine. It was in bankruptcy for $14 million, and he's putting his family in charge. So even though Ebony Magazine may not be the Washington Post, USA Today, that's a major media outlet that we need. And so that's the kind of information that we got to use on this show and whatever other social media that we have, man, because hey, we cannot, just like Jackie said, cannot procrastinate. And I've been procrastinating because I had so much on my plate. Sometimes I don't know which way to turn. But man, thanks to you guys, thanks to Royal, and thanks to Robert Brown and Lawrence, man, we got to stay in the fight. We got to stand up, man. We cannot be spooks that set by the door. We cannot be spooks that set by the door. Roy, I want to bring you back in.
Okay. Well, I just want to make everybody aware. Well, you know, I did do the Black Lives Matter theme song. I've received 8 awards so far for that song, and it's still growing. For those of us who are in the DC area, I also did a DC theme song, Taxation Without Representation.
That's
that
right.
is being used. In fact, it's been adopted as a theme song of a couple organizations as the official theme song for DC, and have made the title of the music ambassador. But currently, my most current work is one that I'm really proud of. It's called Ain't Gotta Go Home, Just Gotta Get the Hell Up Out of Here. It's a song that I had written more than a year ago, but I tabled the song because of the COVID. It was a dance song, a song for DJs to play at the close of the night, much like the old Pookie Hudson song, Good Night, Sweetheart. Well, it was a ending song, but I went back, I retooled the song, reworded it, and now it's a Trump thing. It's a song about Trump's exit, and you got to just hear it. The words are very powerful. The video is even funnier. You're gonna miss a great treat if you don't see the video, and it should be posted. We're hoping it'll be up on YouTube by tomorrow. And it's a powerful song, and it just, I mean, it's truthful. It's poking fun out at him in a kind way, because I really could be mean, but I don't see the point of being mean spirited. But he has been less than a buffoon. He's provided us with almost more than 4 years, almost daily buffoonery, and he could have been the fourth stooge as far as I'm concerned. He has done so much. His logic is so warped. His lack of empathy and caring about other people, his greed, the lies, is just amazing. So I think this video, he has certainly earned this video. And I'm gonna just tell you just the punchline at the very end of it, at the clip of it, you'll see a very familiar face in our community who's gone on there. And he just steps up and looks down at Trump and says, "You big dummy." So you gotta see it. You gotta see it.
Okay, Robert Brown.
Well, right now, I'm a little limited into what I could be doing right now. I'm not able to promote concerts, book singing groups and bands. Every now and then I'll get a commercial that I can do. And of course, we have to do that virtually. There's a movie that I'm gonna be a part of that we were supposed to start shooting in January, but we can't do anything right now until we see what happens with the pandemic. But again, you guys have said pretty much everything that's in my mind. I want everybody to be safe, stay social distance. Hopefully this administration that's coming up in January is gonna do something for us. And I wish everybody a happy holiday and good health.
Okay. Jackie?
Well, there come one sad note as we're ending the year. I want to send out condolences to Norman Neverson. His son died.
Oh, my gracious.
He's only 36, and he apparently had been ill for a while. And Norman, when he first came to DC, you know, he was from Prince Edward County, Virginia, where they closed the public schools rather than integrate them back in the 50s. And so he moved to DC to live with an aunt, went to McFarland Junior High in Roosevelt, played football with my brother Buzz at Roosevelt. And he, you know, was active in local politics in DC for years and years. And so every year he would try to have a little gathering of folks who had moved to DC from Prince Edward, just to see where people were, how they were doing. And he would often talk about how well they were doing and how they had overcome, you know, the not sort of the racism and the abuse that they had endured in Virginia before being scattered to family throughout the country. So, you know, he's always been the kind of guy who puts on a brave face for everything. But when I read the news about Norman II, I was really just stunned. And so I just want to make sure that I send out my condolences to him and his family. And, you know, we've all kind of said it, you know, we just want to make sure that we're giving everybody as much love and support as we can in the coming year, but also staying focused on what there is to be done, because there's still a lot of work ahead of us.
Mhm. You know, I'm gonna bring Chris and Gary on, but I want to show y'all this book again. It's called Black Cop, and this is such a fantastic book. We're trying to figure out a way to get this book distributed to Black police officers around the country, because this not only tells them how to be a Black cop, but how to be a Black man, you know. And this and the things that Tillman O'Brien went through to become assistant police chief in Washington, D.C. is amazing. And, you know, he stuck by his guns, and he was a class act, and he hardly had a high school education, but he never backed down. And when Gary found this book, his mother knew Tillman O'Brien. She was a police officer in the DC Police Department. He gave this book to me to read. And I've read it several times, and it is amazing. It's nothing but 180 pages. So we're gonna try to figure out some way to bring this book to cops all over the country. We're gonna find a way, one way or another. So I want to bring Gary and then Chris, you know, to talk about what's going on, and with Gary's mother being a policeman, and then knowing Tillman O'Brien, and of course Chris's grandmother. You know, that's a hell of a family legacy there. Gary.
Yeah, I've got fond memories of Chief O'Brien. He used to come to our house when I was a kid. And so when I saw that book, that's when I gave it to you, because I remember when it came out in the 70s, he was telling us that there was a book being written on his life. I think we can use social media to get that book out there, because there are a lot of people who are on the force who never even heard of him, or even know that the book is out. So I think just letting people know that the book is out and that it's available, because I did check on Amazon, it is still available and in print. And maybe there's a way we can come up with a social media campaign to do that. The other thing I like to say is, and everybody around, Zoom said that their bandwidth is at capacity. So we may have some struggles here, but what I'll do when I edit this show, I'll drop the videos from Mr. Brown and Royal Height in there. So, you know, we had the trouble today, but we'll drop them in clean for editing so people can see that. And maybe I'll let Mr. Bell decide. Mr. Height, if that new video drops tomorrow, send it to Mr. Bell, and you know, we can make a call as to whether or not we drop it in with this show.
Well, I would, in addition to that, I would certainly love to offer everybody who's participating today a copy of the song and the video, you know, so that you can have it and share it with your family and friends, because our intent is to make it go viral, and we appreciate all the help we can get. So I'll be getting with Harold, and definitely if I can come up with some ideas to help promote that book, because I would like to get a good read of that myself.
Definitely. Chris, tell us how you, Chris, tell me how you young folks are feeling about, you know, what's going on in law enforcement, and do you see any light at the end of the tunnel, man? Really?
A little bit of light, only in the fact that there's so much awareness and activism going on, as you said, with the Black Lives Matter movement, and some people becoming more aware of the situation that's been going on forever. Especially, I think a lot of white people and people that weren't directly affected who just weren't aware that this has just been the reality for Black America forever, and in terms of our interactions with the police. So I think that overall awareness helps, but it's also very frustrating to not really have a lot of help in terms of the electoral politicians that we put in office in terms of getting actual substantive policy changes in terms of police reform. So it's trying to find that balance. And it's activists on the street. People want to do the right things. People recognize the problem, but without laws changing and systematic change, it's going to be very hard to get any real progress. So another frustration we're having with the Biden administration is he is already signaling that he is not going to do anything with criminal justice reform. He's already saying that the defund the police was too harsh of a statement and they don't want to do anything on that to upset and conservatives. So this is what we're looking at. So again, we're frustrated that there's not a lot of help from the so-called leaders that were put in position, and it's basically falling on the streets to come up with a solution for systematic issues.
Yeah. You know, as I look back, man, of course, I've been out in the war zones for almost 50 years, man, with this struggle with community policing. I don't think nobody in this area has done more in community policing, holding forums, you know, being out there with the cops. I had to carry a badge during the 1968 riots that Tillman O'Brien swore me in during the riots and gave me a badge and no gun. And I was out there for 3 days. And I was scared to death, I tell you. And I wasn't scared of the thugs and the looters. I was scared of one of those cops being scared and shooting me. I was scared of the cops more than I was the looters. And I'm just thinking about where we are today. And like Chris said, there is some light at the end of the tunnel, but it's a blinking light. You know, just out in Arundel County, they just hired a new Black female police chief. And she is from the LGBT community. Now, that's a big step forward. But evidently, she has the qualifications. So let's hope that works out. And what did we do here in Washington just recently? Peter Newsom, which they knew going in was a corrupt cop. And he stayed around for almost 4 years and did absolutely nothing. I mean, homicides went up in this city this year, surpassing 2008. And still, we had a 1-year-old baby shot 2 weeks ago, and nobody's been able to find who is the killer. And what did they do? Newsom goes out the back door, he leaves, really without telling anyone. He goes next door to Prince William County, Virginia, and becomes the police chief in February. Now he's gonna carry those same racist attitudes next door to us. So he hasn't gone anywhere. And what does Miriam Bowser do? She brings in a DC boy that should have had the job last year. Conti. Robert Conti is a 31-year veteran from Northeast DC, Langston Terrace. He comes out of the hood. Now, I don't know how many deaths or homicides that he could have prevented if he was the chief, but I'm telling you, it would have been less what Newsom was able to do. So we got to stop and think, because now we're right next door. We're native Washingtonians. I'm living in Maryland, and we don't have a new chief in PG County, which has been one of the most brutal police departments in the country.
Right.
And we still don't have a chief. And it's been 6 months. So that's what I'm talking about. We got to stop and think what our priorities are, and we got to move ahead. We got to stand up, and we got to speak out.
Yeah, if I can jump in real quick.
Go ahead.
Just to add to that, you got to really think about how pervasive the police culture is. When Black Lives Matter popped up in the movement, that it has been met with this Blue Lives Matter and Back the Blue and all this. There's actually the notion that Black Lives Matter offended some people in law enforcement so much that they have created a counter movement to basically just lick the boots of corrupt police and to say, yes, you know, it's a counter culture of decency that has risen up, and there's a proud culture of, you know, these Blue Lives Matter and these thin blue line, black back the blue. I see a lot of it down here in Florida, all that. So it's not just that they're resistant to police reform and movements, they're actually offended at the notion that we would like to stop being killed by the police.
Wow. Jump in, somebody. We wide open.
Well, it just goes to show you how deeply rooted racism is and how much work we have to do to change the mindsets of people. I mean, look at how many people still believe that Trump was robbed of the election. I mean, he's not going to go away. He's now sticking it to Republicans and anybody else that didn't do wrong. He thought putting those Supreme Court justices would be his secret weapon, and they won't even hear his case, and now he's lashing out at them. So yeah, we got a long way to go, a long way.
Yeah, the light at the end of the tunnel is really a train. It really is when it comes to the criminal justice system. You know, Trump spent his time in the White House putting federal judges in place, so this criminal justice system can keep going recycling white judges that think like him. So when you go to court, you're going to be facing 90% of the time, you could be facing one of Trump's appointees if it's in federal court. So we got to stop and think, and just like Chris said, he's been saying this, and I've said it too, don't expect Biden to rescue us. We got to rescue ourselves. We got to get out there, man. We got to stop being, and I'm saying again, spoofs that set by the door. It's because we always want to hear the truth as long as it is about someone else, but we don't want to hear the truth about ourselves. And we got a lot of problems in our community, a lot of problems. And we got to address those problems. Well, we got a few minutes left, and I'm going to give Roy a minute, and give Robert Brown a minute, and Chris a minute, and then we're going to get out of here. Roy, go ahead, close us out.
Well, first of all, I have to thank you, Harold, for your valiant efforts to keep something like this alive. It's been an awesome, awesome event you've had here today as we approach this 2021. And for many of us, like myself, it's inspirational to know that you're not alone. Because so many times when you are forging ahead and you got good causes to help our people, you can feel quite alone out there because everybody doesn't rally around you. I found, and you too, we've talked about it before, some people don't want to be your friend until you're on the win side of the situation. When they see you push the snowball to the top of the mountain, it's rolling down, they jump on the bandwagon. But again, I want to thank everybody who's here today and encourage everybody. 2021, double down, whatever you can do. See if you can get somebody who's just like you, to think like you, to maybe join up with you to get even a little bit more done. Because again, we cannot count on people who don't have our best interests at heart. And nobody's going to love you better than you love yourself.
Amen. Robert Brown.
Well, I came on this program to talk about just me, but you guys got me interested now. I think it's one thing that was left out, the Trump administration. I know presidents have a tendency to pardon people when they're on their way out, but I've never in the history of presidency seen as many criminals being pardoned in my whole life. And I think that's really something that I think that the system should put emphasis on. You got all these criminals, these political criminals that were locked up in 2019 and 2020, and they're being let free. So far, I haven't seen a black person pardoned yet. If you have, let me know about it. But
Jack Johnson,
man.
They got Jack Johnson. They put Jack Johnson out there for you.
Well, thanks for having me on, man, and letting me talk and explain what's going on in my life. And I wish you the best of luck with this program that you got, man. It's real interesting.
Thank you. Thank you. Chris, you got a minute.
Yeah, it wasn't just political criminals that he pardoned too. There are also war criminals that he pardoned too, of those Blackwater guys who they basically slaughtered children over because they said they felt threatened that a car was driving vaguely in their direction, and these mercenaries basically that were hired by the military gunned down just a group of 20 or so, I don't remember what it was, civilians in the Middle East. So they got pardoned by Trump as well as his sleazy friends and whatnot. But again, as Mr. Bell said earlier, Trump is on his way out. He's done a ton of damage, and nothing that was said about Trump is untrue. He's as bad as advertised. But Joe Biden also is proven that even though he might not have the mean tweets and the outward racism, that policy-wise, he's not going to be bringing much difference. So that's what we need to be very aware of, is that we can't go back to sleep. We can't be lulled back to sleep now that Trump is gone and okay, everything's going back to normal. It's not, and we have a lot of fighting to do. Joe Biden is disappointing, to say the least, to progressive groups, to activists, to young people, to Black people, to all the people that voted for him and put him in office. He is signaling that he is basically showing us the middle finger, and that as long as Republicans exist, he feels like the Democrats don't owe us anything, because there's always a side that's worse, and we're going to keep going, spiraling down this well of lesser of two evils, which is what got us the Celebrity Apprentice host as the president.
Oh, Gary?
You know what? I cannot follow anything that Chris said. It's all good. I agree with it. I can't top that. I yield my time, Mr. Speaker, back to you.
Okay. I just want to say, going out of here, man, that I look at Jackie, and I look at, of course, Maggie Lennon. I look at my man, Robert Brown, who was there for my celebrity fashion shows, the Christmas toy party, Royal. And I think about all this success that I've had. I wasn't by myself. You know, you look at the NFL, you look at the NBA, you look at Major League Baseball, you look at the National Hockey League, everything that they're doing in the community. Where did that start? Right here in Washington, D.C. with Harold Bell and Kids in Trouble. So that right there, makes me feel good, and hoping that I will be able to go into 2021 and continue the same type of community involvement, because, all the glory goes to my wife, Hattie, and to God, man, and to my friends. I could never. Who would have ever thought that the National Association of Black Journalists would give me their 2020 Pioneer Award? Because I've been giving them hell for almost 50 years, but telling the truth. And I think people want to hear the truth. And Black Men in America is a great example of that. When I think a guy like me, who has written for the Washington Post, Afro-American, the New Amsterdam News, Bleacher Report, I've been in all those spots telling the truth, man. And I think people want to hear the truth. And that's why I am the most read blogger on Black Men in America. It may not mean much to other people, but it means a whole lot to me that people still want to hear the truth. And as we go out here, I want to give you a little bit of truth again, that every Black face you see is not your brother, and every white face you see is not your enemy. Until next time, you can color me gone.